Hey everybody, Boris speaking Forex. Welcome to the crosses section for April 1 to April 4, 2019. The story in the crosses this week is kind of very interesting. We have a couple of setups that are obviously headline related, including pound Swiss and maybe euro yen, but also I find that a very interesting cross between the major comm dollars and euro CAD. Let's take a look at the ideas I have and then we'll look at the charts and see how they're setting up. So euro yen still very much a very interesting cross here, but now this is where it gets interesting. Last week we were talking about the idea that it was very much angling towards that 123 level. If we, on the other hand, get positive U.S. data, and I think dollar yen starts to take off, there's a reasonable chance here that the euro may still hold relative bid, and we could see it turn back up towards the 126. The charts kind of showed a evening out of the downside momentum, a little bit of a bottoming out, and perhaps a move back to 126. Now, conversely, the other trade that is much more negative euro at this point that's setting up is euro CAD. And this is really a story of CAD strength as well as euro weakness that could very much extend itself if you get positive Canadian data on Friday. This is a very wide-ranging trade. It's a 52.50 to the top side, 48 to the bottom side. It's about two-thirds of the way towards the bottom side. So you really have to assume quite a lot of risk here. But it's setting up for a strong momentum move to the downside here, and that's why it looks interesting. And of course, the Brexit trade to me, really the Brexit pair to me at this point is the pound Swiss, because that is really the true Brexit on, Brexit off trade in so many ways. This 128, 129 is teetering on the support here, 128 broken in pound Swiss, I think signals massive red light to anybody who thinks that the Brexit story is going to be benign, and that could really shatter the move all the way down to 125 as we go forward. Let's take a look actually at pound Swiss first, and then we'll look at the other pairs as well. So here's the pound Swiss. The big flame out here on risk suggests that essentially market's disappointment on any kind of progress on Brexit. In many ways, to me, this is sort of the price action pair that mirrors the headline stories on the Brexit situation. Now, we are holding the 500 SMA. We are still holding bid here, so it's not all desperate just yet. But a break to the downside here, a break to the to the downside, and especially the break of this support level here, this 128.50, it's going to, I think, augur a very, very serious distribution that will essentially create a signature for us to move down to 126, 124 on a big distribution. This is sort of the Brexit not benign scenario that could resolve itself to the downside. So watching that very carefully to me, as that's going to be the primary Brexit trade for us as we go forward. Euro yen on the other side. Let's take a look at this for a second. I talked about this as kind of a cross trade. What's interesting here from a pattern point of view in euro yen is that when you have in the past, and of course past cannot always be prologue, but it is an interesting mark here. In the past, when we've had these choppy support areas at key support areas, followed by, and this is the critical thing, followed by a big breakout candle. And that's why this trade to me to the upside only happens if we get a big breakout candle. If I get a big breakout candle here towards the 20 SMA that takes the range of the last 4 or 5 days, you will have a lot more confidence that we made a V-shaped bottom, because euro yen ultimately is sort of a very V-shaped pair in many ways. And then we've made a V-shaped bottom, and the trade here to the upside could be very legitimate. So I'd be watching that as a signal, but don't make a trigger until and unless you get the move. Conversely, I really haven't looked at it the other way around, but I would suspect that the reverse of this would also be true, that if we get the big candle to the downside that takes the range lows here, extenuating move to the fat finger lows over here, very much possible. And then finally, let's take a look at Euro CAD, because that, oops, sorry, I misspelled it. So here's Euro CAD, and this is a very interesting look, simply because this is really showing you the strength of CAD. On Friday, very, very strong movements here for the last 3 days. We have made a series of lower highs. This 152.50 is clear, the near-term support. Let me just expand a little bit here. You can see it's clear resistance at this point. There is, though, this massive support at 148. So in many ways, I talked about the idea that if euro breaks 112, and the shorts really start angling for a move towards the 110, this is going to be the CAD version of that. I think the euro taking out 112 with a vengeance really pushes us to below 148 in euro CAD. In many ways, it's kind of a European versus North America trade here. The assumption here that the economy in North America is going to show significant relative strength to the economy in Europe. And this is an interesting way to express that trade as we go forward. So watching that next week should be very, very interesting for all of us. Wish you guys the best luck, the best trading. Boris Schlossberg, over and out.